See you later. Bye.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and whatever else you want to call yourself. I went back out, and there, surrounded by dead leftists, piled waist high, was Nomad, spouting truth and killing them with his words. All yours, Nomad.
Good morning, everybody. Today, for those who don't know, all right, is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. All right? This is a holiday
Okay.
to celebrate Martin Luther King here in the United States. It is a federal holiday. It is a federal holiday that irritates the holy crap out of me. Not because we shouldn't be memorializing Martin Luther King. Believe it or not, I have no problem whatsoever having a day for Martin Luther King. Okay, I really don't.
Yeah.
If you wanted to create Martin Luther King Day, though, you don't take away the birthdays of Lincoln and Washington and say, okay, we'll just have a President's Day. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I understand why they didn't. What the issue was, right? Why they didn't want to do it. Because they were like, well, Martin Luther King, if we celebrate his birthday, all these birthdays are in January. That'll be another birthday in January. This was the reasoning from these idiots. Rather than doing Martin Luther King Day on his "I Have a Dream" speech day, all right, which is something that we should be talking about all the time, right? No. They were going to do it on his birthday, and because they were going to do it on his birthday, we got to denigrate U.S. presidents. And it was intentional. And this is the problem with these people. You have a day and a man who should be celebrated. But he is not more important to this nation, okay, than either Lincoln nor Washington. And they should have left those alone.
Just remember, okay, it won't take long for the left actually want to get him removed, and so they're going to want to get rid of MLK Day. All right,
Well,
they've
they got
already suggested he's racist, for God's sakes.
they got
Him of anyone.
they've got to erase other ones before that, though. They're well on their way to erasing Columbus Day. They're well on their way to erasing other days. Trying to make it Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've asked this before. What's an indigenous person? There's no indigenous hominid on the North American continent that we know of. They
No.
invaded at some point in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, so just putting there, we have we have no idea if there was a hominid, all right, slowly evolving into what would have been a new human type species, all right, when all of a sudden the land bridge allowed the humans to go across the land bridge and kill whatever was here that could compete with them.
Yeah.
I'm just if you want to look at this stuff, this is how it works right now. Now the first people that came, okay, that came to the North American continent across the land bridge, according to the scientific theories that we honestly don't know, right, how humans actually came to America. There are plenty of people that were actually running with canoes and things like that. So it's very possible that they actually floated here across the ocean. All right. It's not impossible. Let me put it that way. So, and from all the estimates that I've seen, they figure it was around between 20 to between between 30 and 10,000 years ago that hominids or humans, all right, invaded North America. Well, if they invaded North America, if they came from someplace else, they weren't indigenous.
No.
Okay? So this is my problem when you talk about Indigenous Peoples Days. It's like, what are you using to make this term? Well, they were here first. Well, that's not indigenous. Okay? And just because you're someplace first is meaningless. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, and technically, and I realise I'm kind of bending the rules on this statement, but that would mean that your average Northern European white person would actually class as indigenous to, in my case, England, which means we are indigenous people and we are being colonised by others. Can you see a problem here at all?
Well, I mean, you were abused by the Romans, right? Isn't that how that works?
Oh, oh yeah.
just
I still want to claim reparations off the Romans personally.
oh, okay. You still want to claim reparations of the Romans? The Romans have no like standing grievance against the British.
No, no, not at all. And don't forget, Nomad, one very important thing.
Really?
What have the Romans ever done for us?
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta understand something. The Romans had a war once upon a time.
Yep.
There was a thing called the Punic Wars. You remember that?
You are not accusing us of being Punic. That was a long way away. Come on.
No. The Punic Wars were Rome's three wars with Carthage. Okay, so people understand that.
Yeah.
However, Carthaginians were trading with Britain.
Yeah.
Carthaginians, well, a lot of the Carthaginian wealth that they used to attack Rome when Hannibal went running up and down the Roman peninsula, or the Italian peninsula rather, right? You guys like funded them.
Hold it. Are you saying that the British are known for funding people when it comes to invasions? No, we have never done anything like that. We wouldn't do that. We're good boys.
Granted, it's a slight rewriting of history and a little bit more of a how do I put this kind of an expounding thing. But when you think about it, if you're trading with the enemy, you're the enemy, right? So the Romans had a grievance against Britain before they even got up there. Just remember that.
Oh, no, you're not getting away with this one. So, are you? Yeah, you know this is going to go badly. Are you telling me that you're actually admitting that the Americans were aiding the enemy during World War Two?
What do you mean aiding the enemy? We were trading with everybody.
I'm sorry, and the Germans were the enemy to the
No,
rest of us?
the Germans were, at the time, the Germans were your enemy. Okay? As we're so fond of stating today, America, during the start of World War II, was sitting back eating popcorn. Watching it for quite a while. Until somebody kicked the chair out from under us. Granted, that was the Japanese, and everyone looked at Japan, and then as soon as we looked at Japan, Germany hit us in the back of the head.
Yeah. In all fairness, I do want to ask, and I know that this whole thing of, but you aided the British. No, let's be fair, America weren't aiding the British, they were aiding the French. It's just that the British were aiding the French as well. So it become allies of convenience more than directly allies.
We never gave the French any ships. We gave ships to you guys.
Yeah, no, that's true. But how the hell could you be friendly with the Germans? They sunk the bloody Lusitania. That was kind of a thing. I know it was years beforehand, but nonetheless.
But by the way, which is true, they did sink that in World War One, right? Prior to America's involvement in World War One.
Mm-hmm.
The Lusitania, right?
Yes.
The name Lusitania, right? Just got a question there.
Go on.
What flag was it flying?
It was the sister ship to the Titanic. It was a British ship.
Okay.
But it was full of blood. No. It was full of you lot.
It had it had more British people on it than Americans on it, number one.
Did it have Americans on it? Yes or no?
Yes, it had Americans on it.
Was the ship sunk? Yes or no?
Yes, it was.
And was the ship sunk specifically by the Germans? Yes or no?
Yes, it was. It was specifically sunk by
So the
Germans.
Germans sunk the ship with Americans on it.
Yes.
I rest my case, Your Honour.
Yeah. Well, hold on, Your Honor. Let's talk about some other things. What kind of ship was this?
Prep one. Technically, it was a British liner, I believe.
Right. It was a passenger ship. Okay.
Yes.
By the rules of war, were passenger ships supposed to be carrying arms and munitions?
No,
Was the Lusitania carrying arms and munitions?
I don't know. Was it?
You liar! You know very well that it was. All right. So when the Germans shot a torpedo in it and it went boom, and they went, "What the hell?"
You might want to say, and where did we get these arms and equipment from?
I'm not saying that we weren't.
Uh-huh.
All we did is say, here's some gunpowder, here's some shells, here's some artillery, all right, for what we could make of artillery, and whether you loaded it onto your ships or not was absolutely immaterial to us. Okay.
Now, I'm okay with stating that we were gun running.
All right, so the Germans had ample reason for actually shooting the Lusitania. All right, that's my point. Okay, it's not
No,
that
no,
I'm
I
not
know.
justifying the Germans and I'm not justifying the Americans in this case, but there are reasons. Let's be honest. All right,
Yep.
and that was World War One. That was the people don't understand this, and I get it. All right, America's relationship with Great Britain has always been a bit different than most people's. All right, for one thing, we have such a long ancestry with the British Empire. Okay,
Yeah.
however, the idea that America and Britain are Siamese twins, okay, is really only something that happened after World War II.
Yep.
Okay, and it really where we have a special, and it is a special relationship that we have with Britain. Okay, but we didn't have that prior to World War II. Now it started coming closer after World War One. Okay, but it only became as close as it is because of World War II. Prior to that, Americans and Britain did not look at each other as friends. Okay, they looked at
No.
each other as competitors and possible enemies. All right, so the unfortunately, okay, there's not a better relationship there, and also unfortunately, I'll be real blunt with you. Our relationship with the British is not a problem, but the fact that you have other groups that are a part of that, specifically the Canadians, it would help if you ditched the Canadians. Okay, I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
Our relationship would be a lot better if you ditched the Canadians. If you kicked them out of the Commonwealth, it would be quite useful to us for a lot of reasons. And for
Yeah.
and
Not the least.
go
I
ahead.
was going to say, not the least being that about 30 seconds after we do that, you can invade the buggers.
Well, no, you're removing what's left of the French influence. You got to understand, there's a positive to this for you. You got a major French influence that still exists. All right, due to the fact that you keep the Canadians. If you ditch the Canadians, notice I'm not saying ditch the Aussies.
Yeah, I
All
know, but you
right,
can't get rid of them.
even the Kiwis, we're not talking about getting rid of the Kiwis, but the Canadians are a different story. Okay.
Fair point.
Just pointing it out. Anyway, we have stories. Let's get to some of the
Yes.
stories, shall we? Okay. Now, what did I say about this? Right? I said if it was up to the Americans, they would never identify this guy, and they wouldn't have identified him if it wasn't for the fact that the British already identified this guy's name. What did I say about the guy's name? Do you remember it?
You did hint that there's a distinct possibility he had Middle Eastern connections,
Yeah.
yes.
The FBI identifies hostage taker at Texas synagogue. Okay. The FBI has identified Malik Fazel Akram, a 44-year-old British national, as the man who held four people hostage at a Texas synagogue in an hours-long standoff Saturday before a rescue team entered the building and killed the suspect. An FBI hostage rescue team killed Akram after the hostages were released around 9 p.m. local time, the agency said. The
You
crimes
can't see a more right-wing name than that. I mean, how more proof do you want that that guy works for Trump?
crime scenes investigator at Beth Israel congregation in Colleyville, Texas, about 15 miles from Fort Worth. Okay, now let me explain this to you. You have Dallas, and then you have Fort Worth. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you have the airport in between, the Dallas Fort Worth Airport, or DFW.
Yeah.
Right? DFW is huge. Okay, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because Fort Worth and Dallas are not very far apart, and this place, Colleyville, is right next to the airport. In fact, the airport is bigger than this place if you look at it on a map.
Yeah.
Right? So this is basically you're in Dallas, right? If you ever go there, you would not know that you're in Fort Worth until you see signs that say "Congratulations, you're in Fort Worth." But it looks the same. It is an urbanized area all the way across there. It's like you're driving through the city. Once you hit Fort Worth, rather, it's all a city all the way through Dallas. And there's a number of small towns around Dallas that have been incorporated as part of it. Right? You have Dallas, north of Dallas, you have Plano and Allen. You have a number of these, just like everywhere else has small little cities that have been incorporated because they've been the cities have grown into them, right?
Yeah.
That's what you have in the Dallas area. This is a big spread out area, just so people understand. Okay. So the hostage team came in here, right? Now, in a statement to CNN, Satran Walker described the ordeal as a traumatic experience. He's one of the hostages. He said that he and the other hostages are alive today due to multiple security courses his congregation has taken over the years. Without the instruction we received, we would not have been prepared to act and flee when the situation presented itself. Satran Walker said, I encouraged all Jewish congregations, religious groups, schools, and others to participate in active shooter and security courses. President Biden told reporters Sunday that I don't have enough facts to speculate on why the man targeted a Colleyville synagogue.
Yeah, right.
Malik Fazl Akram. I don't know why he targeted a synagogue. Okay.
No, it's totally confusing to me. I cannot imagine.
Now, they said that this guy came to the United States 5 weeks ago from the British, right? So my question about his vaccination card still stands. I'm curious about that. But the problem is how they're saying it. Okay? The way that they're putting this is he came legally in the United States 5 weeks ago. Okay. First of all, he came here legally 5 weeks ago. Legally. 5 weeks ago. Okay. How long was he supposed to stay?
Question.
Okay. Right? I mean, 1 week, 2 weeks? Right?
Yeah.
Probably.
No,
right?
no. 5 weeks. It's a little bit more than this. I get the idea.
Right. So he was an illegal alien because he stayed past his visa, so he was illegal. Was what I suspect. I don't know for sure. Maybe he came on a work permit. I don't know. I highly doubt it, but maybe he came on a work permit. The
You
reason
seem to forget, okay, he can't be illegal. He's a migrant.
it gets better.
That's not illegal.
It gets better. In the Dallas area, they know where he was in the Dallas area because he was staying. He was basically using a homeless shelter as a waypoint. He was going in and out of a homeless shelter. He was living out of a homeless shelter. Do you folks get this? Okay.
Yeah.
What this means to me is he got to Dallas and didn't have any money to sit up there and live in a hotel. He didn't have the means to stay there, which means he didn't come here on a work visa. Okay?
Yeah.
So he was in and out of a Dallas homeless shelter, and he stayed past his residence. It's his time that he's supposed to be here, and so he's illegal in the country. Okay.
Yep.
Next question. Got a question for you. Got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you loading up your passengers and sending them over with handguns?
Well, you know what it's like in England. We've got more guns than you have, and we just hand them out to anyone you want.
So where did he get the gun? Now I suspect
He
that
brought it
did,
over there. Yeah.
I suspect that he didn't have the gun when he got on the plane and came over to the United States 5 weeks ago. Just, yeah. I don't think it came through his with luggage. I don't think he was carrying it with his luggage. Okay, which means he purchased the weapon somehow in the United States, right? Now, you have an illegal alien. It's not legal for them to purchase a weapon in the country. How did that happen?
Yeah, hold it. Are you trying to say that the TSA might have actually found the weapon if he had it on board the aircraft? Let's be honest. The TSA couldn't find their ass with both hands, a map, and help.
That's true, but I think that he wouldn't have tried to purchase the weapon in Britain, all right? Because what's the point? I can get it in the United States.
Yeah, over here I guarantee it's probably between 3 and 5 times the price that you guys would ever consider paying for
it. And him coming over and trying to hide it, all right? I'm not saying that he couldn't have done it that way. I'm just saying it's unlikely, highly unlikely, let's be honest, that's how that took place, right? It's very unlikely that he had the weapon or he purchased the weapon in Britain and hand carried it into the country. Could it have happened? Sure, but I doubt it.
Okay, something I should point out that Oz has said. Actually, it was probably legal to get in your country. He probably called it an emotional support pistol. Therefore, nothing would have happened.
I haven't heard that one before. It's my support pistol. I gotta sit up there and put it next to my face and sleep on it, while I'm on the plane. I don't think that would have happened. Just put it out there, right? But you have a man.
There are people out there that have had emotional support llamas. I'd accept a pistol before I'd accept a bloody llama. Come on.
Okay, so but it still comes down to the same thing. How was this guy able to purchase a weapon? Now, it's possible that he got it on the black market. Okay, there are black market pistols. Okay, but I can guarantee you that if he went through a regular check, my question then becomes, why did he not alert on the FBI checklist? It is legal. If you come over here legally, all right, and you're here legally, it is legal for you to purchase a weapon, all right? However, you have to have an address and a bunch of other things that have got to be confirmed, right? Now, as a person who comes into the country on the federal database, because they track this on a federal database, if this guy is not legal in the country, how did he purchase the weapon? I'm curious because they haven't said that. Have you noticed how they haven't said that yet? Because
I have,
the question would get asked by the FBI, how come you did not flag this person, all right, when he had stayed past his visas? And I'm making these assertions because you can read the writing by how they parse the words. When they say he
I,
came into the country legally, all right,
I would
why are
actually
you being
suspect.
specific like this?
I would suspect that he possibly used a false identity. And let's be honest, the person would have looked at him and gone, "Yeah, what the hell? Who knows? That's him." Okay, that's what I suspect happened. Though the logic dictates it probably was an illegal gun, as Shirachi has said, possibly even a 3D pistol.
It wasn't a 3D pistol.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's talk about 3D pistols for a moment.
Uh-huh.
There was a guy who printed a 3D pistol, and yes, it fired once. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and if this guy's living in a homeless shelter, he's not running around with a 3D printer. Okay. So it wasn't a 3D pistol. Now,
True. There.
firing a 3D pistol once is one thing. Okay, trying to multiple fire at something that was 3D printed is never going to happen right now. Not with plastic anyway. All right, because plastic can't contain the force of the round at this point in time. Okay, now there are things that people are saying you can do to enhance this. Like for example, it isn't very difficult to purchase a gun barrel and then surround it in plastic. For example, right?
Yeah, hold it. Shirachi is suggesting that you can 3D print metal guns. Is this correct? I don't
No.
know.
All right.
Okay, this is beyond me.
Okay, there is such a thing as 3D printing metal. That's true, but the metal
Okay.
itself is not strong enough to contain. Let me put it this way: I would never trust a 3D printed gun. Okay,
Mm.
with the metal that they're using today, and the reason for it is yes, there is 3D metal. It is not as strong as regular metal. Okay,
Yeah.
it is stronger than plastic. I grant you. All right, but when you're firing a weapon, and you know this, Jensen, you don't want the weapon to blow up.
Funnily, no. I agree there.
Okay, and you don't want the weapon to crack, or have some other untold thing. And if there's a guy who does Kentucky Ballistics. I think that's the name of the channel is Kentucky Ballistics, right? And if you want to see what
Okay.
happens, this guy fires a 50 cal that blows up.
Oh,
All right, and it's not that he did anything wrong; it's that the gun failed
yeah.
and almost killed him. All
I
right,
wonder why. Hmm.
all right. Now when you look at the gun and everything else. Now the reason the gun blew up was because he was using. All right, 50 cal rounds are not something that you just walk down to Walmart and pick up a case of 50 cal rounds.
Oh,
Right?
no, no, that's true. You just go down to local 7-Eleven and pick them up. That's what I heard.
Right? It doesn't work that way, right? And a 50 cal, the amount of powder you put in a 50 cal, right, is quite a bit, right? Because it's a big hunk of metal. I don't know if people have ever held a 50 caliber shell in their hands, right? They're like, ooh, I mean, anybody who's ever done that's like, this is big. And then you're like, okay, well, here's a 20 millimeter. but, but these are not unsubstantial, right? So you basically have people that have brass, okay, that have been expended and sold on the market as just brass casings, right? That people then reload, right? But there's a reloading standard, and then there's people who go, hold my beer, right? Now think about this, right? So they're loading. Some of these rounds are loaded hot. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And the round that he was firing probably was an overloaded hot round that destroyed the weapon.
Yeah.
Okay, um, it's it's interesting. I mean, I personally would love to have had a 50 cal. Okay, the failure,
Yeah.
all right, basically shot the firing and receiver mechanism back toward him and through his neck. Okay, and yeah, it was. It was an interesting thing, right? You don't really, when you see the explosion, you don't really see anything untold aside from the fact that you know the gun, something happened with the gun, right? You don't get to see any of the blood or any of the other stuff. Right?
Sorry to interrupt you, but Oz just said something, and I'm a bit nervous at this moment. You can get them at the Cabela's and can fire them out of 12 gauge. Not safe or smart, but it can be done. I'm sorry, you've got 50 cals firing out of 12 gauge shotgun. Is there anything wrong with this picture?
Okay. I why would you do that? Why in hell would you ever do that? If you're gonna fire something out of a 12 gauge, you might as well fire slugs. You got 12 gauge
Yeah.
slugs, right? If you ever fire a slug, by the way, for those who don't know, all right, you have different types of rounds in a 12 gauge shotgun. You got bird shot, all right. You've got double aught buck, right, and you have slugs. If you ever
Don't forget Dragon Breath. Don't forget Dragon Breath. That is well worth remembering.
when you fire a slug, all right, out of a freaking 12 gauge shotgun, the first time you do it, you know it. Okay? Because you're throwing an ounce of lead downrange, an entire ounce of lead. It's heavy. The recoil mirrors that. Okay? Just to let people understand that. The recoil is
And
significant.
so you're telling me you don't have one in each hand? This is what you're saying. Am I
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you're not going to fire those things like pistols. I'll tell you right now.
Just checking.
Your shoulder will be sore after you let go of one of those. Just putting it out there. For those who have never fired a shotgun. I mean, when you have to learn to take the recoil. That's something people who have never fired guns before and are intimidated by guns, that's one of the hardest lessons for them to learn. And it's really bad
Yeah.
when the first gun that they fire is like an AR-15 style weapon. Because an AR-15 style weapon has... You can hand an AR-15, okay? Because of the buffering mechanism and everything, it is meant to be able to throw lead very quickly with very little recoil. And the less recoil, the faster you can re-engage a target. That's the reason behind it. Okay, but a shotgun is not that. Right?
Are you telling me that there is no such thing as a 50 caliber AR-15? Well, that's not what the left have been saying.
Okay. Anybody who has seen a magazine-fed 50 cal, right? Just a bolt action, right? Like a bolt
Yeah.
action magazine fed, right? So fire, right? You would
Yeah.
know because the draw of that weapon is it's not it's not like you're plinking cans from a 22, folks. Okay, it's not like you see in the movies where the guys in World War II are firing those bolt action where they fire and then they chamber another round. The draw that you've got to pull back to to engage another round is quite expensive. All right, there are a number of
Yeah.
channels that fire every now and then full fire a 50 cal, including the ones with the magazine fed ones, right? And you will see how big those weapons really are. Okay, and the people that you're seeing on the channel doing this, you don't realize, but these are people that are 6 foot and above generally, right? They're big people, right? But even they talk about it. But there's also a channel. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I can't think of the name of it, but they fire shotguns a lot, right? And they fire different things out of the shotgun, right? They have a whole group of people, all right, fans that send in rounds for them to fire out of the shotgun, right? And there's some people who've done some creative things.
You say that. I've just sent you something in your DMs. I really strongly suggest you take a look, and then I'll say what it is. And thank you, Oz. I think.
Yes.
Okay. Just wow.
See the draw on that thing?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not insignificant. So people who do. I mean, let me see if I can get this so that everyone can see it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do it. It's not going to let me do what I want here.
Oh, shame. Oh well.
Oh, anyway. All right. Well, we're
Yeah.
not going to be able to do that. Okay. I would have showed people the thing, but it's not going to let me do it right now. But yeah, it's a large weapon. It's a heavy caliber weapon. It's very big. But that's a 50 cal. But a 12 gauge, you're throwing basically the weight of that 50 cal slug. With a 12 gauge, with a slug, it's the same weight. It's around an ounce, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to understand the power, okay, if you fire a 9mm into an old style American car door, like an old Galaxy 500, right? Big American car, right?
Yeah.
A 9mm will penetrate the front, may penetrate the entire door, but won't get out of the car, right?
Oh God, no.
So a 50 cal or a 12 gauge shotgun slug will go through the car door, all right, and out the other door. Okay? A 50 cal will go through the car door, through the 2-inch plate of steel that they put in between there, and through the car, outside the car, and out the other door. Right?
Yeah.
Just so you understand this.
I like 50 cows. Just saying.
Right? They're tougher around, but yeah. No, but I would like to know where this guy. Back to the story. This guy purchased a handgun. I would like to know how he got the handgun. I would like to know whether or not he was on legal status when he purchased the handgun and what he used, because I will venture to say I suspect that this guy came in there, purchased the gun illegally because he should have been flagged by the FBI's database, and the FBI screwed this up. The FBI, once again, is too busy looking for the person who threatened the school board because his child was raped than they are looking for people ready to kill, all right, other people. Now, that's my belief. Why do I believe that? Because that's what they've been doing. They've been concentrating, creating a database of people that have walked into school board meetings and complained about what they're teaching their children, what they're trying to indoctrinate their children on. They're too busy doing that. Well, this guy comes in, all right, on what is, and like I said, now I could be wrong, okay? CSG could be 100% right. I'm jumping the gun here, but when you see them start parsing words, all right, your antennas should raise. And they parsed words here, folks. He came into the country legally. As soon as they said he came into the country legally, not he was here legally. You see how that parsing goes on? Well, we didn't lie.
Oh yeah.
All right, which means he wasn't supposed to be here. He was here illegally at some point. All right, which means he came in probably on a visitor's visa, which is a 2-week visa. All right, if he had a visa at all. All right, and if you're supposed to stay in the United States past, I think, 2 weeks, you have to have a visa. Now, we don't always, like for Mexico. In Mexico, you can go across the border of Mexico without a visa, and the Mexicans can come across the border, all right, into the United States without a visa. Believe it or not. Right? The difference is there's a a limit to how far into the country you can go. For example, you can go to the border towns. In other words, the border towns isn't the problem. Once you go outside the border towns, further into either country, if you don't have a visa, you're wrong.
Okay.
Right? You're on a legal status. Mexicans don't worry about it because nobody checks. Okay, let's be honest. All right, but it is something. It is something to be aware of, right? If you ever go to Mexico, now you can. There are once again. There's other exceptions. For example, a lot of the resort cities like Cancun. Once again, in Cancun, you could go to Cancun without a visa, I think. All right, but if you want to go deeper into the interior and so forth, then they'll require that you at least get a temporary visa, which many times you can apply right then and there for, right?
Okay.
You don't have to go anywhere outside of that. It's really it's really interesting, right? That's the kind of relationship we have with Mexico.
Yeah.
Just wait for the British Empire to ditch the Canadians. Just ditch them. Go ahead. I dare you. just put it out there, Jenson. It's just a suggestion.
Okay. Well, we'll give it a good old think. How about that?
Right. Just give it a good think and so forth. Deranged man pushes an Asian woman to death at Times Square subway station. Okay. A deranged homeless man allegedly shoved an Asian woman to her death in front of an oncoming subway train Saturday morning in Times Square, police said. The horrifying episode unfolded at 9:40 a.m., just 9 minutes after the man was caught on video on the platform at Times Square station at West 42nd Street and Broadway. Michelle Alyssa Go, 40, was waiting on the southbound platform when she was shoved onto the train tracks and struck by the R train. The incident was unprovoked, and the victim does not appear to have had any interaction with the suspect. Police Commissioner Kechant Sowell said in a late afternoon press briefing at the station. The suspect, right, and you can see the picture of the suspect, all right, first approached another woman who was not Asian, who became alarmed and moved away. In other words, she was second choice. He was going to kill somebody. This guy had it in his mind he was going to kill somebody. She feels that he was about to physically push her onto the train. As she was walking away, she witnessed the crime where he pushes another victim in front of the train. At 9:53 a.m., a man walked into the transit precinct in the Canal Street and declared that he pushed a woman in front of the train. The suspect, identified by police as Simon Martial, I don't know how to say the name, right, was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Why are you charging with second-degree murder? Where's the first-degree murder charge? This guy's a loon. Okay, this guy intentionally killed somebody. He planned it and he did it. Okay, I mean, it's pretty obvious. He has no known address. All right, he is crazy, talking gibberish, said law enforcement. Later he said, "Go F yourself" at reporters as he was escorted out of the precinct. He copped to the attack and asked if he killed Go and claimed that he was God. Yeah, because I'm God. Yes, I did it. I'm God. I can do it.
Wow.
Adding, she stole my effing jacket. That's why. Now, for those who don't know, this woman is a well-known homeless advocate. Okay? This woman is known for her charity work. She's known for her charity work.
Can I modify her pronouns to was? Not is, was.
Okay, she was a homeless advocate. This guy killed the very person who tries to help him. This guy is a homeless itinerant, okay? And he'd lost his mind, obviously, and he killed somebody who, tries to help homeless people. What can you say?
Yeah.
Well, what can you say? Now,
You know that they're probably going to find a way to try and spin this as well, don't you?
now, I would be curious to know if the other woman who basically ran away, right? I'd be curious to know whether or not she was an African American, or whether or not she was just or somebody else. And the reason for that is I want to know if this is a racial attack or not.
Yep.
Now, this guy,
I
do not misunderstand me. This guy's deranged. Okay, do
Yeah.
not misunderstand me. But and let me explain something else to people who are upset about this kind of crap, right? And about quote unquote mental health in this country. You leftists did this. This is what you leftists have left. All right, this is what you've wrought. All right. You don't want these people incarcerated. All right. You wanted them out on the streets. We used to find these itinerants that were obviously deranged, drug addicted, all right, but also mentally unstable, all right, and we used to put them into medical facilities, all right, which were also prisons, for lack of a better term, all right, and try to get these people well. Now, people didn't like that. They were like, oh, they're just rounding up these people and they're just getting them off the street because they're treating them horribly. We need to close these horrible mental institutions where they're incarcerating these people and they're just not letting them back out. All right. So they forced all these people back out, and they're like, okay. And then they're bitching about, what's happening to people because they're deranged. But the racial tensions that have been fueled by the people on the left, all right, are adding to this. Okay? They are fueling this. In America, how long have we had subways in New York City?
I don't actually know.
Right? We've had it's over 100 years. Okay? The subways in New York have been there for over 100 years. And it's only recently that we're having repeated attacks on people being thrown into trains. I'm not saying it didn't happen before, but it was a rare event. Now it's happening frequently, where you may see one once every 20 years, right? And it's a target, and in those cases, it was a targeted attack. It was someone specifically, they're trying to kill somebody specifically for a specific reason that had nothing to do with. Now it's just random attacks, where they're just shoving people into these things. Where the victim doesn't even know the suspect.
Yeah.
It's a deterioration of the society, and it was brought on by the left. And I know people are like, no, that isn't the case. That isn't the case here. Yeah, no, it is the case. Okay? This guy was a lunatic. He had lost it. He deserved to be in a mental institution, and he would have been in a mental institution, or at least off the drugs that were, the drug-addled haze that he was in, if we were allowed to do things. But 30 years ago, we had to get away with that. I mean, you've had muggers now doing this. It's becoming almost an epidemic. You want to talk about a real epidemic? This is a real epidemic.
True.
Well, this guy has been on medication for 20 years and has been in and out of mental hospitals in New York. Yeah, I wonder why. Because you can't keep people in prison anymore or keep people in these mental facilities when they're a danger to everyone. It's unfortunate. Okay? This guy's unfortunately killed somebody because he's lost his absolute mind. But if you had somebody that you could say, okay, we need to get this guy help, and he needs to stay in the mental care facilities, the healthcare facilities. It amazes me. You got New York. New York wants to bitch and complain that they don't have enough money for this and that and whatever. Instead of spending $100 million to fund abortions, maybe you should be spending that $100 million to sit up there and set up facilities for these people and house them for long term. Just putting it out there.
Well, there was a facility that probably might have been good for him. I don't really think it applies now so much, but there is such a thing called the Trans-Allegheny Mental Asylum. I'm wondering maybe bring it back, into use, store them there.
Store them.
Oh, sorry, wrong words. I mean, look after them there.
Incarcerate them.
Yeah.
I like the term incarcerate, to be honest. But no, and I agree with you. This is what they need to do. But the thing, this is a sad case. Right? This woman is someone who's. I feel sorry for her family. Her family now is suffering. Right.
Yeah.
Again, an Asian gets pushed in front of a train. How many times does this have to happen? Asians are getting attacked in every way. This came from the founder of the Guardian Angels, Curtis Silwa. Right. People are beginning to notice that in New York, the Asians are being attacked. Now, why would Asians all of a sudden be getting attacked? They weren't being attacked before. Why? What's the new thing to attack Asians for?
No idea. I'm assuming it's something connected to the Asians are now considered white adjacent. Please note the air quotes put in there.
Well, whatever. White adjacent,
huh?
On to the next story. Tennis star Novak Djokovic, deported after losing second court battle. Tennis star Novak Djokovic was deported from Australia on Sunday, just a day before the Australian Open, after losing a second legal challenge against the cancellation of his visa as an unvaccinated player. The Serbian player, now he's Serbian. Did you notice how now he's Serbian? Right? The Serbian player departed from Melbourne Airport, on a flight to Dubai late Sunday, hours after the federal court in Australia judges upheld the cancellation unanimously, according to local media. I'm extremely disappointed in the court ruling to dismiss my application for judicial review of the minister's decision to cancel my visa, Djokovic said in a statement. I respect the country's ruling and will cooperate. The men's number one, who faces a 3-year ban on re-entry, added that before thanking his supporters and wishing players and fans all the best for the upcoming tournament. Right. The reasons for the court's decision are not yet known, but are expected to be shared in the upcoming days. The court's Chief Justice James Alsop stressed Sunday's hearing was ruling on the lawfulness and the legality of the government's decision to cancel Djokovic's visa for a second time, not whether it was the right decision. Oh my God, they have a judge. They actually have a judge in Australia. Where'd they find it? Can we borrow him for a few minutes?
No, come on. Of course they had a judge. They stole him. That's how they got one. Everyone knows that. It's Australia, after all.
I'm just putting it out there. This guy's actually, he understands. He understands the difference between right and the law, right? Just because, there's... Let me give an example. If you get arrested for stealing bread, okay, you were stealing. Now, it doesn't matter that you were trying to feed your family and that you were absolutely starving to death, right?
Mm.
You were stealing.
Yeah.
The law says you need to be arrested. The law says you need to be. It doesn't mean that the judge, that they shouldn't convict you of stealing because you were just doing it because you were hungry. No. All right? There are laws there. You need to be convicted of stealing. You still stole. All right? Could they have, given mitigating circumstances, and could you add mitigating circumstances to the law? Yeah, that's one of the reasons why our law is now freaking too damn long, because people try to come up with all these stupid mitigating circumstances, all right, so that the law wouldn't apply to them. No, let the law apply, all right, and then let people sit up there and with the system that we have, reverse those things and take care of it. Well, he'll have a criminal conviction for the rest of his life. Not if the governor sits up there and overturns it. That was the whole purpose of clemency. That was the whole purpose of being able to pardon people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You've got to let when you go back and you try and say, well, I want the system to work differently, then the system doesn't work if you keep trying to push it. The way the system was designed, all right, loses its functionality. And that's what's happened. In a lot of these cases, that's what's happened. Now, let's be honest. The government had to kick him out of the country. All right? Because of the stances that they had, okay?
Yeah.
They would have been called Boris Johnson if they left and stayed in the country, okay?
Yeah.
Let's be perfectly frank here.
Oh, I agree.
All right. So, just putting it out there. Now, what's your opinion of this whole thing, Jenson?
Okay. Right. What I'm expecting is that Australia is possibly not going to like the kickback they get from this. It really depends on whether or not the other tennis players actually like Djokovic. In all fairness, this does remove one of the problems that they will be having, him being world number one, etc. So other people will have a greater chance of actually getting somewhere in this, in the tennis. But let's get blunt. All it really takes is for the players to go out there and quite literally go on strike. And Australia is suddenly going to be looked at as not well appreciated. And before you go, well, who cares? It's only tennis. I agree. I've not got a problem with that as a statement. It is only tennis. It's also tennis that probably has people that have got more money than you or I are ever going to be able to comprehend. Because these people get, this is definitely high quality when it comes to air quote sports.
High fashion. I wouldn't say quality. All right, let's be
you know what I mean.
Yes, no, but you're right. It is a luxury set.
Yeah,
right?
And I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, not by any stretch of imagination. In fact, I'm actually saying it probably won't, purely because people just don't back each other up in that way. But can you imagine if, like, Serena Williams walk out, pull up a chair, and just sit down?
Well, Serena Williams may do that. I doubt she will, but she may do that. She has the fortitude to do something like that if she so desires, right?
Yeah, she has the reach as well.
She does.
There are a lot.
She does have the reach. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, personally, all right, Serena Williams is, in my opinion, she was better and worse than her sister. All right, when the Williams sisters came onto the tennis scene, right, I was always rooting for Serena because Venus, being the elder one, all right, was dominant for so long. Okay, now when I say so long, I mean just like 3 years, right, which is not a long time, right? But
Yeah.
Venus was dominant over Serena for a long time, and in my opinion, right? And
Yeah.
so I was always rooting for Serena. The thing is Venus is far more mature, right? She's far and away a much better role model overall than Serena is, in my opinion. All right,
Okay.
as far as people go. All right, the adversity that that Venus has had to go through and come back from, I have a much more appreciation for. Now, that doesn't take away from the greatness of Serena Williams. All right,
Yeah.
overall, if you compare the two, you compare the careers, you compare their abilities. Serena is the more talented of the two. All right,
Yeah.
she just was. Now they're both very talented. See, that's the thing about it. Serena Williams is massively talented, but that doesn't mean that Venus wasn't very talented as well. She's just not quite as talented as Serena was, right?
Hmm.
But mentally, Venus Williams is far more. And I know she demonstrates far more class.
Yeah.
It's the best way to put it, right? Venus is classy. Serena isn't unclassy per se, but she's not at Venus's levels. That makes sense.
Yes. No.
Okay.
No. I see what you're saying. My point being is, now imagine if, again, it's never going to bloody happen. But imagine if all these tennis players did actually walk out and just sat down. Suddenly, the Australian Open is quite literally suddenly the Australian closed. And at that point, Australia itself will actually regret its actions.
Well,
And
it may regret these actions, or we don't know. All right, the problem's going to be what next year's like. If they pull this stunt next year, then they're done. Then
yeah,
they will find a new number four. All right, for their Grand Slam. The Grand Slam will no longer be Australia. All right, that's what
yeah,
they're risking. I don't know if they understand that, but that's what they're risking. They can get away with it this time because for two reasons. One, the situation within men's tennis. You have Djokovic. Give me another
yeah.
men's tennis player that's currently on the circuit.
I wouldn't be able to. I'll be honest with you. I've no idea.
Hence my point. All right. I'm sure there's people that I've heard of that are still there, but to be honest, the names don't come to mind right away, right? It's not like the Connors and the Bjorn Borgs where you had the rivalries and the McEnroes, right? When they all had those rivalries going on, and then of course the Arthur Ashes where you had these men's rivalries going on, right? You had big men's name in tennis, all right.
Yeah,
Ever since Roger Federer dropped out, there is no one to compete against. All right, there is no Djokovic trying to upstand it or and compete against. There's no Bjorn Borg, right?
hmm,
And so men's tennis now is, let's be honest, passe.
yeah. That's why I picked the women's ones. You notice?
Well, and with and women's tennis is it's let's be honest, there's a lot more competition and you got different players. All right, jumping up. The one female from Japan. What's her name? I can't think of her name right now. All right, I can picture her face, but I can't think of her name right now.
Mhm.
All right, you have the way Serena Williams. Now Serena Williams is getting old; she's going to eventually have to give up the crown. But you
Yeah,
understand, that's the thing. But there are more women's names known. All right, and quite
yeah,
frankly, let's be perfectly frank, the women's game is more enjoyable to watch.
yeah,
Okay, and the reason for that is volley. You're more likely to see a volley in tennis in the women's game than you are in the men's game, right? Because the men, let's be honest, with people like Djokovic, the power of their serve is how they win or lose, right?
yeah.
It's like whack, done, whack, done. And then sometimes it's whack, 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 but that's all you get. If you go past three, it's impressive.
True.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you go past three, it's impressive, because the first thing is the guy on the receiving end of whatever serve it is has to put it back over the net, right?
yeah,
And at that point, because he's just trying to put that 180 miles circle. I realize it's not 180 miles, but that flaming speedball. He's just sticking his racket out there, hoping it pops it back over the net. Right, right. That's all he's trying to do. Right.
Not so much I hit the ball back; it's I parry and hope.
Yeah, well,
Let's be honest.
Parry and hope that you actually got him to move, because if you parry it right back at him, you know, I sent that over at 120 miles an hour. You sent it back to me here, 150 miles an hour. Let's see how much. I mean, most of the time when they do get their racket on it, even right, when it isn't an ace because they got their racket on it, it's out. Right. They get the racket on it, and it goes out, or it goes back to them, and then the other guy puts it in the other corner where the guy can't run there fast enough because he can't teleport yet, right? Right. And
I'm glad you said yet. Yeah.
You know. But you understand my point, right?
Oh yeah.
So the men's game is boring to watch. Right? It really is. Right.
Yeah.
I think they should get extra points if they're able to hit the guy personally. If they turned that a little bit over, right, instead of trying to score the point by having the opponent miss, if you actually are able to hit the opponent with the ball, it should be a score.
See, make a suggestion. Here, try this. Replace the ball with a hand grenade with an unknown fuse. What do you think?
Hand grenades don't bounce. You'd have to find some of them.
Look how hard you hit them.
That's true, but what are you hitting them with? You're no longer hitting them with a tennis racket. Let's be honest.
You can give them a baseball bat. It's a new version.
Let me ask you a
question,
Jenson. Would you sit up there to hit a grenade with a baseball bat?
No, but then again, I'm not a professional tennis player, thankfully.
Okay, I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to sit there and go, yeah, go ahead and serve up the. I don't think even in baseball, which it didn't liven up baseball too if you did the same thing, but nobody in their right mind is going to swing at an explosive with a bat. Just put it out
Oz actually agrees with me. Put a timed explosive. He's not wrong. I mean, look, I could have said fill the ball with nitroglycerine and give him a baseball bat and see what happens. That would be fun.
He doctored the ball. How do you know it exploded when he hit it?
It's out. How can you tell? Half the stadium blew up. Okay, good reason.
Okay, let's go to the next story. Japan sees tsunami, but no major damage after the Tonga volcano eruption.
Told you about this. Yeah, I did say it would happen.
And Japan saw tsunami waves of about 1 meter.
Yeah, well.
All right, but no major damage or flooding after the eruption of the underwater volcano off Tonga led to the evacuation order of 230,000 citizens. That's a lot of people. Okay. The Japan's weather agency issued tsunami warnings and advisories in the early hours for the Pacific coast from Hokkaido to Okinawa, but these were all lifted in the afternoon after 14 hours. The agency said a slight sea level fluctuations may continue for some time, but there is no risk of disaster, which is good. However, it cautioned over marine activities such as those done underwater or fishing. While there were no serious human casualties, some fishing boats were capsized, and the warnings caused delays and cancellations to public transport. Up to 229,000 people in 8 prefectures, and I'm not going to butcher these names, all right, were asked to flee from the seaside, according to the Fire and Disaster Management Agency. Some high school students in the prefectures were to sit for a 2-day nationwide university entrance examinations from Saturday, had to adjust to new time schedules. Okay. Which goes to something else, all right? If you go to university in Britain, right, how are you selected?
I'm sorry. How am I what?
How are you selected? how do you go to? I mean, do you just on your own decide you want to go to university?
Pretty much, yeah. You decide you want to go, you apply, they look at your scores, they laugh a lot, and then they basically let some people in, and most of them are just, you know, sent to the idiot colleges, to put it bluntly.
Okay, so it's like America, right? Where if you
Yeah,
want to go to university, you can go to university. You want to go to college, you can go to college.
yeah.
Okay. Um, I know that isn't common, right?
Okay.
I know in like I said in Japan. In Japan, you have to stand for exams, and then depending upon how well you score, you're authorized to go to university or you're not. Now, if you don't want to go to
Wow.
university, it's easy enough to do. You just don't apply for the exams, right? But there's a lot of
Yeah,
pressure on them to do well in school so that when they stand for these exams, they go. Does that make sense?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because there's only so many that can go. Now, in the United States, anybody can go to college. All right, I'm going to be real blunt with people here. This is one thing that irritates the holy crap out of me. Right? Anybody in America can go to college. All right? Should that be the case? No. But it is the case. Don't come back and tell me that if you're poor, you can't go to college. You can. There are multiple ways for you to go to college if you are destitute.
Yeah.
All right, within this nation, and the, anybody who sits up there and tells me otherwise, all you have to do is go in the U.S. military. They'll pay for your college,
Oh, yeah.
right? So don't tell me it's not possible. Well, I don't want to go in the military. Okay, well, do you want to go to college? I'm not saying that it's going to be given to you. Okay. I'm saying that if you really want to go to college, if you really are trying to earn a living, right, there are ways to do it in this country. There is nothing preventing you from doing that. Well, what if you can't go in the military? Well, why can't you go in the military? Well, I've got a criminal record.
Hmm.
Okay. Why do you have a criminal record? Because you chose to be a criminal. Now,
Hmm.
I know that there are people out there. Oh yeah, Nomad, you're being too harsh. There's a lot of people that didn't do nothing, and the police came and harassed them, and they were just smoking a little bit of weed. Should you have been smoking weed? You made a choice. You made a life choice, and now you're seeing the consequence of it.
Yep.
Well, that's unfair. Who gets to determine what's fair and not? Life's not fair, dumbass. Just putting it out there. Just letting people know. Just so you understand. You know.
Yeah.
I know people don't like my harsh reality things. All right.
Reality sucks. Deal with it. Yep.
This story. There's a reason I did this next story. This is China's view of the situation. Russian troops stay near the Ukrainian border amid NATO pressure. Kremlin. Moscow is ready to take countermeasures if Russia and the West cannot reach consensus, said Peskov. Russia will station troops on its own territory near the Ukrainian border due to tensions with the NATO. All right, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on Sunday. We find it necessary to keep those troops due to the very tense situation and very unfriendly environment, Peskov said in an interview with U.S. broadcaster CNN. Russia has to take measures of precaution in response to NATO buildup, drills, and frequent flights of fighter jets and reconnaissance planes near the Russian borders. However, Russia is not considering a military action even if negotiations with the United States and NATO on security guarantees fail, Peskov stressed. Nevertheless, Russia is ready to take countermeasures if both sides cannot reach a consensus.
Hmm.
Okay. So basically, nothing's going to happen.
This is
Right?
what they're saying. Yeah.
I mean, did I miss that? Is that all this? Oh, Russia's going to invade. Russia's going to take out the poor Ukrainians. Are going to invade the Ukraine. Why is Russia going to invade the Ukrainians? What do they gain by invading the Ukraine? Okay.
Nothing.
No, they may. If NATO stations troops there, I can see a problem. Okay,
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons why I've said this many times. Get out of NATO. The U.S. should pull out of NATO. Right, just so people understand that. NATO served its purpose. Now, since the Europeans want to start their own little frickin' wars, I'm all for letting them frickin' have at it. Get our troops out.
Yeah.
Get our people out. The only thing is there are only a few nations that I think that we should support, and the Baltic states are one of them. To be honest, I hate to say that, but we really should support the Baltic states and Poland. Those are the only, and unfortunately, those are the worst ones to support. All right, from a military perspective, because they're the hardest to support. Right.
Yeah.
It's easy for us to support France because it's right there. It's got an ocean, and the only thing between us is the ocean. To try and support, for example, Lithuania, though, that's not so easy to do, right? To try and support Poland, it's not so easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I do think we should put a drawing line there with the Russians and say, look, these are ethnically different states. They've been this way for a long time. Stay out. And while I think that Putin isn't happy about that kind of situation, he's amenable to it. But at the same time, we have no reason, absolutely no reason, right, for us to involve ourselves with the Ukrainians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The only reason you're seeing us get involved with the Ukrainians at all right now, right, is because of Biden, folks. We're going to go to war to support a corrupt president. Think about that. That man.
I hope you're not shocked.
We're going to go to war because a president has been taking money, and his family is taking money from oligarchs in the Ukraine. How does that sit? I wonder how many of Biden's freaking, hunters pictures are roaming around in the family rooms of Russian or Ukrainian oligarchs. How many have purchased one of his freaking pictures?
Yeah.
Just being honest, folks. Biden's corrupt. Hunter's corrupt. We know he's on the take by these people. We know that they've given him millions. All right. And so his saber rattling with the forces of the United States are all at the behest, all right, of a corrupt president who wants more money from these people.
Matt has pointed out, how is Hunter supposed to buy all that crap? Shit ain't cheap. Come on, man. He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Okay. I found this next story is quite interesting. I want to talk about it because it hits home. All right, there's several things about this that I want to get into. Study. Cancer patients given high-dose radiation treatments even near the end of life. Many older cancer patients whose disease has spread to other parts of the body continue to receive high-dose radiation therapy despite guidelines that recommend against its use under these conditions, an analysis published Friday by the Journal of American Medicine Association Health Forum found. In the review of the data of more than 500,000 radiotherapy doses or radiation treatments administered to Medicare beneficiaries, nearly 4% of the patients involved died within 90 days of their last session, the researchers said. Of those who died, all had cancer that had metastasized to the brain or bones and more than half were older, and 22% received 10 or more radiation treatments near the end of their lives, the data showed. Current treatment guidelines recommend against using radiation therapy in people with metastatic cancer or disease that has spread from its original location to other parts of the body, the researchers said. Despite multiple national guidelines, advice against their use, approximately 1 in 5 patients receive extended or long courses or greater than 10 treatments of radiation therapy for bone and or brain metastases near the end of life, study co-author Dr. Patricia Santos told UPI by mail. No patient, regardless of how long they are expected to live, should be subjected to protracted treatment schedules that are not evidence-based, Santos, a resident physician at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York City. Okay, for those who don't know, Memorial Sloan Cancer Center. Oh, I'm sorry for I should have put this out there so that people could see the study. It's a UPI report, folks. For those people who don't know, Memorial Sloan Cancer is one of the top cancer centers in the United States. Okay, it's right up there with MD Anderson. All right. Now, the thing about this story, right, is yes, when you give treatments, okay, of radiation, there are different types of treatments, okay, and they are there for a variety of reasons, okay. When they talk about long course treatments, okay, the purpose of those is to give a heavy dose of radiation to a tumor volume, all right, but you're spreading it out so that the healthy tissue has a chance to recover. Okay, so you're giving a little bit of radiation and a little bit of radiation and a little bit of radiation, okay, rather than one big dose of radiation all at once. Make sense?
Hmm.
Now, in the cases of metastasized, what metastasized means is that the cancer has spread from the original tumor volume, where the original tumor was taking place, or to another part of the body. That's what metastasis is. All right?
Yeah.
Now, that being said, when you give a radiation treatment, you're not always trying to cure the cancer. I hate to tell people this. Okay. There's what's called palliative treatment, right? Where you're trying to reduce the symptoms, all right, that a person is suffering, right? But you can't cure the disease. You're not trying to cure the disease. You're just trying to alleviate the system so that their quality of life is better.
Yeah.
This is it is what it is. Okay. In fact, many of the palliative radiation treatments take place in the lung cancer. Right? The lung cancer is very dangerous because, quite frankly, when it metastasizes, it spreads to tissue that is very sensitive to radiation, so you can't even necessarily use the radiation to attack the cancer in that region, right? Because the amount of radiation you have to deliver, right, is higher than the tissue around it will support. It's a fact
Just
of life.
something you might want to do is actually explain to people that no, they're not trying to make millions of little Hulk, because that has been suggested. Yeah, we're looking at you. You know who we're looking at.
You're not. You're changing your DNA is not going to turn you into a green hulking monster. You do not absorb radiation and keep it as energy in your body that you can then use to explode. That doesn't work that way.
You're just not trying hard enough. That's what it is.
Right? Will it break DNA down? Yes. Can that lead to mutations? Yes, it can. However, that's what cancer is. It's a mutation, right?
Oh, hold it. Are you telling me that the Hulk is basically cancer with legs?
Yes.
This is what you're telling me, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I am saying that, yes. All right. Now, it's
That's
obvious.
actually terrifying on its own. Yeah.
Look, folks, cancer is not a joke for people. All right. Now, this
No.
doctor doing the study is complaining because, in her opinion, all right, people are irradiating patients that are on death's door, okay, unnecessarily, and that the people are then suffering due to, you know, the after effects of the radiation treatment itself. Okay. Now, I can understand her point of view. I can understand what she's trying to say. Okay. She may be 100% accurate. I haven't seen the study, so I haven't looked at it. I would question the outer aspects of the study's overall effect, because even though something's recommended, don't do this, there are lots of reasons why you may still decide to go ahead, and your doctors may decide to go ahead and do this, right? Like I said, palliative is one of them. If, for example, when they talk about like a metastasis to the brain, right? If the tumor volume, the metastasized tumor, right, on the brain is causing the individual massive amounts of pain, you may decide to go ahead and try and treat that lesion, all right, with radiation, just to try and alleviate the pain, for example. All right, I'm just using this, and I'm not saying that this is what's happening. All right, I'm saying that there are reasons, there's possible reasons why this was taking place. All right. Now the sad part is like the lady said, it's not going to save the person's life, but it may increase their quality of life. Right, number one. Now she's talking specifically about long courses, right? Like I said, you can break up radiation little bits at a time in these longer courses, so that the effects are mitigated, right? So that the overall effects are minimal, right? And this article goes on to talk about, you know, vomiting and weakness and general tiredness and you know, loss of hair. Okay, all of that's true. All that can happen from the radiation treatments. But you know what else causes that? Chemotherapy.
Oh.
Chemo drugs do the same thing. They cause you to vomit. They cause you to be nauseous. They make it so that you're weak, right? because the chemo drugs do the exact same thing that the radiation does. All right.
Yeah.
It's basically, yeah, they're attacking the cancer cells. All right, but guess what? While you're busy attacking the cancer cells, you're also attacking healthy tissue as well. So the effects are very similar, right? Now, does that mean you should be treating people like this? No, not necessarily. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. There are doctors that prescribe treatments, especially if it's being paid by Medicare. All right, because they can get money for it. All right. And I know people don't want to hear that, but it's very true. There are bad doctors out there. All right. And unfortunately, the government has created this kind of situation. Because when it comes to Medicare and Medicaid, the government is involved in determining how much it'll pay for what types of treatments.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be real blunt with you. All right. If the reimbursement for a 10-course treatment is more than a 25-course treatment, guess what? They're going to prescribe a 10-course treatment. If the government then turns around and says, no, we're gonna pay less for 10 course than 25, guess what? They're gonna sit up there and specify a 25 course treatment, because it's revenue. And the government does this. And who gets to decide this? Government bureaucrats, folks. Government bureaucrats that are on the take, all right, of other people. This is one of the reasons why I am very down on the government's involvement in medicine, because they don't give a shit about patients. And when you come back and say, well, they're immune to these pharmaceutical companies and everything else. No, they're not. They are as much on the take of those people as not. In fact, it's more likely that they're on their take, because they go to these big meetings and they go to these boards, right? And they have representation there, and companies will sit up there and send representatives to push their way through. And guess who they listen to? Do they listen to the guy who says, "Hey, I got a better idea, and I got my own little thing here, and I'm a one mom pop shop"? No, they're not going to listen to them. They listen to the big medical companies. They listen to the big medical manufacturers, not the little guy. The little guy gets screwed, even if his stuff is better. And it's because the government gets to decide it. Okay? The idea that the government is there to ensure an equal playing field and that the best care gets done, I'm sorry, they're not. They say they are. They could if they followed their strictures. But if you take a look at how they actually act, I am down on them, because too many of them are corrupt. And when I say corrupt, I don't mean that they're intentionally killing people. I'm saying that they have blind spots created because of money influencing them, and it is money. And I'm telling you now, it is money. When you put a bureaucrat in charge there, and that's another problem. A lot of these guys, they're not even doctors, they're not even physicists, they're not scientists in any way, shape, or form. A lot of these guys are somewhere in between, and they're bureaucrats, and they make bureaucratic decisions by looking at. You want to complain about it amazes me. People who complain about the insurance companies doing this, and they don't even realize that the insurance companies are just following the lead of the federal government.
Yeah.
It's one of my biggest bugaboos. You want to complain about the cost of medicine in America? You want to know where it starts and stops? Right there at the federal level. We're going to reduce costs. We're gonna bring in Obamacare. What has Obamacare done? What did they tell you that Obamacare was going to do? It was going to reduce costs by 5 times. It's going to reduce the cost of these things by 5 times. Instead, all right, it went up by 3 times. Now, why is that? Because the people who are setting the bar for this are the federal government. And anybody who thinks otherwise, come talk to me, and I'll explain to you how the system works. Because the federal government sets these prices. You want to talk about price fixing? Oh, these pharmaceutical companies are charging so much. Yeah, well, why are they charging that much? Well, because they can. No, it's because the federal government sets it at that level. I'm not joking, folks. Through Medicare and Medicaid, the federal government has gone down to the point where they sit up there and specifically state how much money they will allow for a pill, how much money of whatever substance it is. They set the standard they set the price of how much you can charge, all right, Medicare and Medicaid for this treatment over another treatment. And if one of the treatments comes out of favor, whether it's good or not is immaterial to these people. They sit up there and will specify, well, we'll give you $50,000 for this treatment, all right. Another treatment treating the same disease, that one only gets $40,000. So which one's the doctor going to choose? You see my point? They're not letting the market handle this. They themselves are making these decisions. Just putting it out there. I don't think people realize just how freaking screwed up the medical industry is because of the federal government involvement. The federal government has their hands in every bit of this. And those.
I think, Jim. something Jim has said now. This is going to mean so much more to you than it does to me. But if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Biggest lie of 2013. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because
Does that
not
makes
to
no
me.
it makes no sense to you at all?
Nope, sorry, wrong country.
When
We do.
when Obama was
Ab-
running around our country, he was telling
ah,
everybody that Obamacare. When people said that you were going to lose your doctors, right? When the opponents of the Obamacare were talking, they were explaining to people that they were going to lose their doctors. That the doctor that they have, they're no longer going to get to go to, right? And Obama, when they heard that, they realized that people started this was working, right? So they came back with the lie. If you got your doctor, you can keep your doctor. It's not going to change anything like that. And the first thing it is, as soon as they passed it, was people started finding out. No, you can't go to your doctor anymore because they're outside. They've now been listed on the persona non grata network. All right, so you're not part of this situation now. A lot of people lost the doctors that they were supposed to be going to. All right, and they've never been held accountable for it. In fact, you just elected the third term for Obama, sitting right there in the White House right now, which is Biden. Right.
okay.
So that's why he said that. If you like your
Okay.
doctor, you can keep your doctor because it was a lie, and it was a proven lie. Right. Oh, this won't do anything. This won't affect anybody. They knew it ahead of time that it was going to do that. Right? And they had people in their own studies, right, when it was released, doing this. But you know what the media did? The media said, "Oh, well, that's still just a campaign." You'll love this word. That's just a conspiracy theory. Those are just those right wing conspiracy theories. They're just trying to talk about it.
Yeah, never heard that before.
Right wing conspiracy theories. This is where and that's why conspiracy theories. I hate to say this. That's why the whole attitude of conspiracy theories. People are becoming more and more conspiracy theory oriented and in a broader scale because the trust in the government is continually dropping, all right, because of the lies being perpetrated and being perpetuated not just by the federal government but by the media itself. The media is increasing the lack of trust in the federal government by its constant lying, and people can see it. Ready for the next story?
When you are ready, sir.
Probation for a man who violated a stuffed unicorn frozen doll inside
Oh
a
God.
Target store. A man who engaged in sexual conduct with a pair of large stuffed animal toys at a Target store in Florida was sentenced today to 6 months probation after pleading no contest to indecent exposure and criminal mischief charges. Coder Meter, 22, entered his misdemeanor plea before a circuit court judge who also ordered the St. Petersburg man to pay $725 in court costs and fines, according to the court records. Meter, seen at the right, was arrested late in 2019 after willfully and maliciously damaging Target goods by ejaculating on the merchandise. Meter, cops reported, initially took a stuffed unicorn in the children's bedding department, exposed himself, and then took the unicorn and placed it against his penis and began a sexual motion like the subject was trying to have sex with the unicorn. Okay, can you explain why this guy got 6 months?
Yes, actually I can. No, no, I can explain this. I got it all. Are you ready? Florida. End statement. That's exactly why Florida. Okay?
Look, this guy is obviously someone you need to put. We're talking about the mental health people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, this is
So,
someone. This is someone
if
that
I
needs to
may,
go.
yeah, if I may, Oz has actually made a point here, and actually I think it explains everything. Unicorn was asking for it by dressing so sexy.
You know, once upon a time, they used to castrate these people and make them eunuchs. Because
Fair.
if you can't control yourself and your sexual urges when you see a a child's stuffed animal in a unicorn shape, that you just have to have sex with it. If you can't control yourself, your sexual urges against a unicorn, all right, at what point are you going to be able to? You see my point, right?
I agree.
I'll be honest with you. If I was caught myself doing something like this, I would want to be castrated so I would never do something like this again.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not trying to begrudge people this, but this is, dude, you're a threat to everybody. All right? You're a threat.
Yeah.
You went and did this. You're a threat to everyone. Now, if you can say that you were on drugs and all these other things and you gotten yourself clean and everything else, and these are mitigating circumstances, don't care. Because there's no guarantee that you won't sit up there and smoke a joint again. There's no guarantee that you won't sit up there and take a sip of the wrong bottle again, right? Or do a line of freaking meth or whatever the hell you were on, right? I'm sorry, but it's a line that you can't. He did this in the child section. Would you want your child babysit by this guy at any point? I mean, he served his time. You can come over and babysit my children. Is that what you want?
No. In all fairness, can you imagine the absolute horror of the parents when, Mummy, why did the unicorn say squish? Just saying.
I'm not trying to be crude or rude or anything else. I'm just trying to put a point out here, folks, that there's times when people think things were overly harsh that maybe they weren't. Now, were these things abused? Were people taken out? Let's be honest. Were people castrated that just because the federal government could or the government could castrate people? Yes. There's people that want to, there are people that will abuse the system. But as long as you have human beings, the system's going to be abused.
Yes.
Right? Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Hi, Shorty.
Stop the fucking spinning. And if you did something like that, your wife would burn you at the pike.
Oh, that's true. My wife probably would have put a few frowns into my body. Right? I will admit that, but that's not the point. The point is my point is these younger people that are obviously deranged. If you want them to be functioning members of society, they can no longer be functioning members of society with genitals. Or is that too harsh?
No, gee, I agree.
If you want them to be functioning members of society, their parents should have beaten them when they were children. Anyways, that's all I had to say. Stop the fucking spinning. Bye.
You can't go back in the past. You can't go back. The parents beating the kid in the past it's not going to happen. Okay.
No. I do have one question. Are you now fighting the urge to spin those icons? Because I bet you are, aren't you?
Oh, is that what she was referring to when she said stop spinning?
That's what she was going on about, yeah. I bet you are fighting that urge now, aren't you?
Oh, no. I won't spin the icons. Here. There you go, Shorty. I won't spin the icons.
Oh.
Is that better? Not spinning icons.
No, it's true, and trust me, if for a vote, we have at least 2 people here who will actually say that is much better. So I'm actually okay with this.
Just understand, I'm not spinning icons.
No, you're not. There is nothing there to make anyone else dizzy. Happy? Yes. Dizzy? No.
Yeah, just not spinning icons. Is that better? Is that better, Sharadi? No spinning icons?
Oh my god! She actually admits it. It's better than the spinning. Wow. Okay. Sorry for interrupting you, Zach. Do carry on.
Just okay. We will continue. I just have one more story.
Okay.
Right. And you ready?
When you are.
And it wanted to bounce to something else, which I don't care to.
Mm-hmm.
Why are thieves snatching French bulldogs across the United States?
It's a French invasion. I think you should nuke Paris.
Two thieves who brutally robbed 27-year-old Mariki Bayens at gunpoint on this California street were not after her purse or her. They wanted the little dog at the end of the leash, Merlin, a French bulldog. From New York to Los Angeles, from Miami to Chicago, theft of the prized breed have been on the rise. Small and friendly, and thus easy to grab, French bulldogs are hugely popular, selling for thousands of dollars on the black market. The most famous victim so far has been Lady Gaga. Armed men last year stole her pet bulldog Koji and Gustav after opening fire on an employee who was walking them. He was wounded but survived. The superstar singer offered $500,000 reward for their return and eventually got the dogs back. Police have made 5 arrests in the case. Bayens survived a similarly traumatic attack in November when people were walking Merlin, a friend's dog, in the California city of Oakland. The brazen attack occurred in broad daylight. I was waiting for Merlin to go about his business when I saw 2 people coming. Before I knew it, one in front of me was pointing a gun at my face, and he said, "Give me the dog." The other had already grabbed Merlin off the ground, and when I didn't respond to the one pointing the gun, the other one pulled the rest of Merlin's leash out of my hand, and they ran off towards their car and sped away down the street, going the wrong way on a one-way street, she said. The bulldog thefts elsewhere in the country, have been carried out in a similar cold-blooded tactics.
I don't know what to say to that, but yeah, go on.
I know nothing about French bulldogs. Okay, they don't. Bulldogs, all bulldogs, right? When they're part of your family, right, are friendly. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's a pit bull. Pit bulls, if you're part of the pit bull family, the dog is happy to see you every time you come home. It's going to lick and slobber all over your face, which is one of the reasons why I don't want to be anywhere near a bulldog. Okay? They all slobber.
I'm okay with that. Oh yeah.
They all slobber on you. Okay? Now, granted, they don't yip. They're not like Pomeranians. Okay? Bungles of frickin' neuroses, right? They're not Pomeranians, right? But at the same time, they're, terriers are much better dogs, right? In my opinion. Okay, now terriers can be aggressive. Okay, I'm not going to deny that. But they're not ugly. I'm sorry. You look at that face. And it's like, I mean, some people find them adorable. I find that, no, that's just. I could love it until it started slobbering at me, and then no, it's got to go.
Look, let's break this down here, okay? There are rats like this stealing, and there are real dogs that are known as wolves. So all I'm going to say, everything else is just something in the way. You get real ones, which are wolves, and then you get rats.
A mastiff is not a rat, and it's not a wolf.
It came from a wolf at one point, a long time ago.
They don't look like wolves, and that big head that they have, it's not a freaking wolf's head. Okay, let's be honest.
Okay, all right. So it's a bear.
Okay.
Let's be honest.
All right, for those who don't
Oh,
know,
it's got the bulk of them, hasn't it? Come on.
it does have the bulk. All right, Labradors are like wolves that got stupid. All right. Anybody who's ever had a Labrador, the Labradors they're friendly, they're big, all right. They're good hunters, all right.
And they're dumb as all hell. Yeah.
I don't know if they're just dumb or just.
Oh, no, dude, they are dumb. Okay, they're one of the more stupid. Don't worry.
I think they're just happy.
You can actually say that.
I think they're just happy dogs. You know how there's some people that are just happy with whatever is going on. And people think they're stupid.
Yeah.
It's just that they're just happy people in general.
Oh my God, I've worked out. You're saying that the Labrador is memes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see a Labrador being me. I can see memes as a Labrador. Yes.
Not wrong, am I?
No.
You both like next time you see a Labrador, you are not going to be able to not picture memes there. I'm just saying.
All right. I mean, it's true. All right. But yeah, Mastiffs though are the face of a Mastiff. It's unique, right? The long snout, the big head. It looks like a tyrannosaur with fur, right? Now, granted, it's miniature, right? The head. I'm just talking the head, right?
Yeah.
But doesn't? Am I wrong?
No. It's your logic. Just an amusing concept. That's all.
I mean, the snout and that big thing, that big mouth it is, so they could take your entire head in and squish it like a grape. You know what I mean? I mean, it's amazing that the problem with a Mastiff, if you ever do this, is keeping it fed. Okay.
Yeah.
They eat more than you do. Okay.
Yeah.
They eat more than a human.
No,
does.
you're right.
Right.
No, you are correct there.
They are big.
Though, in all fairness, this whole thing with the dogs is a great idea. But I actually want some of the wild animals that we have in England. Big cats.
Well,
That's right.
You really want that to be. You really want a big cat to be found in Britain, don't you? You want them in the wild. You want them in the wild.
We have them. Okay, I'm not joking. There are multiple pictures showing these things, and I know that there's the argument, oh, it's just a little kitty that you're looking at the wrong angle. Yeah, cool. And the fact that we found the prints, oh, they're just pretend prints of a cat that have been seen. Yeah, no, screw you. We have Black Panthers and mutated versions thereof in England, and I am very happy at this.
I would be interested if a Black Panther actually was roaming around in there and was able to survive, because those are from like jaguars. Black Panthers are related to jaguars, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And
if you want to actually look it up, okay, look up the Beast of Bodmin Moor and the Dartmoor Beast. That both of these will give you the right idea. That is your cryptid right there.
Well, but how's it surviving in Britain? And I don't mean that from the standpoint of food-wise. I mean, because there's plenty of food in those areas, right?
Yeah.
My issue is how are they surviving the cold?
I'm going to go with literally they've adapted. Think about this, all right? These animals were probably being kept as pets, not in a zoo, which, they have the heated areas for the animals. I get all that. No, they were probably kept as pets, which means they started very slowly to adapt to humans the moment they came over here, and then they were, air quotes, let free. Don't get me wrong, you'll probably find a huge amount of them died quite quickly. That's why there's not that many of them. But some survive, and the next generation will survive even better.
Well, okay. One of the things, for those people who don't know, I mean, in the United States, we've learned what it takes to reintroduce a species to an area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it doesn't matter what the species is, whether it's goat,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's a wolf or whatever it is, but you have to introduce them in multiple waves. Okay,
Yeah.
and the reality is the first wave that you're throwing out there, most of them are most of them are dead.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Most of them are going to die. Okay, very quickly, right? And but before they all die, you send in the next wave, and then and then after the third wave that you send in, okay, then you will know whether or not the population can survive or not, right? But if you just send in two waves, it won't make it. But if they send in three, generally it takes three successive waves of reintroduction in order for a species, all right, to actually be reintroduced into an area that's previously had these forms as a habitat. And
Mm-hmm.
the what they learned in doing this is that the waves learn from each other. So the first wave, well, for them it's learn as you go, and guess what? Every wrong move leads to you dying, right? The second wave, a lot of them die too because they're still learning, but at least they learn a little bit from the first wave, right? And then the third wave learns enough from both of the previous two waves to survive within that environment, right?
Yeah.
So when you reintroduce them into, it's one of the things that they just recently reintroduced some sheep out here in Arizona, right? That live in the mountains, right? Um, and that's what they had to do is they're on the third wave. I think they started the third wave this year or last year, right? But you need to put them in waves because the first they don't, otherwise they don't survive. So they have to learn to readapt to the new life, the new surroundings, the new digs. All right, even if the species had been there before, they have to learn. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not what you're saying is not impossible, right? But to be honest, I would like to see more. You know, I really would. I would love for the fact that these things spread throughout the British Isle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be cool. I'll be honest with you, but I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't.
No.
Now,
Well, I'm going to send you a link for you to look at a later point about the Beast of Bodmin Moor.
mm-hmm.
I'll let you. I mean, don't get me wrong. It won't surprise me to find out it's a load of rubbish. But this shit has been seen, and it has been seen regularly. It's in your Discord DM, sir.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not that I don't think that this can happen. Okay, right? It's like I said, it's very possible that um, it's very possible that these things are you know that something like this has happened and these things exist. I'm just saying that I would like it to be. I would like a fairly large breeding population. You know, that's what I want to see. I want to see a big because it'll be different. I mean, these beasts will transition. They will evolve, right? And it would be nice to see a species evolve in this situation. For those who don't know, this is what he's referring to here, right? So. These are the beasts of Bodwin Moor, right? It's a creepy place.
Yeah.
One more reason that Jenson is drawn to it.
It's true. I do feel a certain connection to places like this. Yes.
Right. They have a skull.
Oh yeah.
It's a leopard skull. All right.
This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's real. I'm saying that there is enough evidence out there that should make you go, hmm.
The hypothesis is rejected on the grounds that the numbers needed to sustain a breeding population would be too large for the food supply. Some people believe the animal is a species of wildcat that is believed to have become extinct in Britain more than 100 years ago. Some, after reading reports, not just of hissing and growling, but sounds of a woman screaming are inclined to blame the paranormal.
Mm.
One more reason that Jensen loves the story. Look,
Nothing. Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough about the Moors,
Yeah.
the situation and so forth.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of wild critters out there. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right? And perhaps this is a species that actually tends to be much smaller, but all of a sudden there was one of them that's large. Okay.
Yeah.
Giantism is not just for humans. All right. I
True.
want people to understand that.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when you think about that, now think about this. Okay, giant. Can you imagine a gorilla? A gorilla suffering giantism.
Wow.
Right. All of a sudden now, the mighty Joe Young and King Kong come to mind.
I was going to say, hold it, didn't they make a film about that and call it Kong?
Oh yeah, basically, yeah. But I mean, that's the point, right? Giantism.
Yeah.
Can you imagine giantism in an elephant?
Oh, that's just terrifying. Right there, that is scary as all hell.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, it'd be kind of cool, Well, elephants that get up to about 10 foot tall. This one's 30.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, when you look up and you still are only just around its kneecap height, you know something's wrong. And let's be fair, it may not notice you, and it will turn you into road patty as it walks past by accident.
Oh yeah. Most likely, I mean, something that large, it's like, wow. You think about it, you're like, because like I said, it's not that these things can't happen in the wild. Now, the problem with giantism is oftentimes it causes other animals even human beings aren't meant to grow a certain size. They start to have medical problems. Most of the people that have gone and are over 7 foot, right, and get into the 8 foot, 9 foot range, right, they tend not to live long lives, right, because your entire system isn't created to live like that, right.
Yeah.
The person's blood. Do you realize the kind of blood pressure a person has to have to be able to push enough blood to the rest of the body?
Oh yeah, no, I don't know. In all fairness, on a land-based creature that size, it will most likely die. But here's a mental image for you: a wolverine with gigantism.
A Wolverine the size of a freaking wolf would be interesting. That would be horrifying.
That would, wouldn't it?
I mean, that would terrify everybody, including the rest of the animals in the forest.
You mean the empty forest? Yeah.
Well, this thing would have to roam. Let's be honest. It couldn't stay in one place for very long because things would flee it. Let's be perfectly honest.
Shirati, you can point at giraffe as much as you like. It is basically a horse with a really long neck that a good punch would kill. No, I'm sorry, but giraffes are not that impressive by any stretch of the imagination. And let's be fair, they don't need to be that smart. They're sneaking up on trees. Not generally the most maneuverable creature, I have to say. Trees are known for not moving too much.
It's amazing that giraffes exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you see a giraffe, the first thing that comes to mind is how? How did this thing survive? Okay, when you see it, if you ever see a giraffe drink water.
Oh yeah.
Right. They got to splay their legs out in such a manner, all right? I mean, to me, giraffes are something that they're incredible. They really are incredible. And unlike Jenson, they're not. I don't necessarily think that they're stupid, but their heads are a lot harder than you think that they are. right? Because they attack each other with those heads. Right, so they are like a ram in a way, and they use those necks to smack things around, right? And they have what's interesting is you think that the neck is supple. It's not. It's just long, all right. And the vertebrae that are in there's not that many vertebrae, so you don't have a lot of movement capability with those necks in comparison. Okay, they're not like a snake with hundreds of vertebrae.
Yeah.
In some ways, it would make more sense, but then again, the muscle tissue at the top would have to be massive to hold your head up, right? Which is why you need the.
According to Sean, they've only got 7 bones in their neck.
Yeah, there's not very many bones in the neck. I don't know how many it is, but it's not very many, right? The thing is they're just long. But when you see them try to drink water, it amazes me, like I said, how do they survive?
Yeah, I'm a bit disturbed because Ozpit looks like he's getting a bit turned on, pointing at their prehensile purple tongues. Just saying.
Their tongues are like cat's tongues too, right? They're like barbed, right?
Ow.
So
Okay.
they basically strip the leaves and the branches, right?
Mm.
So yeah, they're like I said, they're an interesting creature. It's an awesome creature in a lot of ways, but at the same time, you're like, God, why?
Mm.
You look around.
No, come on. If you want a creature that the question why applies, is a duckbill platypus. It's a mammal. It lays eggs, and it's toxic. Really? Would you have spare parts?
Well, that was weed. Right?
I believe that.
That's when God stepped there and said, "You know what? Time to take a break, and you know what? I'm gonna kick back. I'm gonna relax in my lounge chair, and just you did what? What party? It's Sunday. You're supposed to be relaxing. You guys it was Saturday night. You had a party. What did? Oh my God! What did you do? That's how platypuses came about. They weren't God's mistake. God's mistake was the fact that he decided to relax on Saturday night and didn't watch the children who created this because they were having a party. Okay.
You're blaming your pattern for this, aren't you? Come on.
You want to know? You want to know? People talk about the war in heaven, right? Where Satan was cast down. Right? Where Satan was cast out. This is why.
Yep.
Right? This is what it was. The party got out of hand. Yep. And when God woke up, he said, "Who's at fault?" Everyone looked around, and 5 people pointed at Satan, 3 of Satan's friends pointed at everybody else, and it was on.
Yep.
And God said, "I have had enough of this.
I am done with this." Yep.
Right? So now you understand. Right?
Yeah.
Where does this rest part go into party night beforehand? How the hell did you guys figure this one out? Michael's like, "Nope, I wasn't there."
What me?
Remember, I was in the.
Yep.
I was guarding. I was guarding Eden.
Yeah, good excuse.
Yeah, Gabriel's like, nope, I wasn't there either. I was practicing. It was practicing. Practicing blowing the horn. I was. Raphael's like, I was doing painting. Yeah, I was. No, I was. No, I wasn't there. Can you just see this, right?
Actually, I can. The problem is I'm actually seeing Abaddon sitting there looking confused. They've gone through the various angels. They've looked at him and he's gone, "What? I didn't do it. What?" And so that was it. He got the blame, and suddenly we got the platypus. Have a good day.
You know that he got the blame, but he was the one who did it.
Yeah.
He's also the one who did it. What was it? What about these drawings? What about these drawings you found in your room? What?
Yeah. You can't go in my room. You're not my dad. Oh, yes, you are. Fucker.
You can see how this came about.
Yeah.
Right, but that's everything I got for today. You got anything else, Jensen?
Not overly that much. Just for anyone that gives a damn, it looks like England's going to be coming out of its current COVID lockdown soon. Well, that's good, I guess. But that's pretty much it. So, in that case, thank you very much for your stories and giving us a good chuckle, Nomad. And thank you very much for listening to our absolute drivel that we like to come up with. I'll see you all later, everybody. Bye bye.
Goodbye, everybody.